Emergency response team. What's the situation?
We need an ambulance now! A trainer's been pulled under!
The sun rose high over Tidehaven, California, on July 15th, 2019. Its rays draping Sapphire Shores Marine Park in a radiant cascade of gold. The Pacific breeze carried the sharp tang of salt, weaving through the vibrant chatter of families streaming through the park's coral-carved gates. Children clutched starfish-shaped balloons, their eyes sparkling with wonder, tugging at parents eager to reach the heart of the park. The Orca Lagoon, where Torah, a 23-foot male killer whale, reigned as the star of the show. Torah was a masterpiece of nature, his black and white form slicing through the water with a grace that belied his immense power. His towering dorsal fin cut the surface like a scythe, and his deep dark eyes seemed to hold the ocean's secrets. To the thousands packing the bleachers, he was a tamed giant, a living emblem of the sea's majesty brought close for their awe. But beneath the sunlit surface, a shadow stirred, a tension coiled tight, poised to unleash devastation. At the heart of this story was Job Miller, a 34-year-old Marine trainer whose life was entwined with Sapphire Shores. Raised in Tidehaven by his aunt, Dr. Evelyn Harper, a co-founder of the park, Job had grown up enchanted by the ocean's mysteries. As a boy, he'd trailed Evelyn through the park's winding paths, his nose pressed to glass tanks, captivated by the ethereal dance of moon jellies and the slow glide of manta rays. For Job, the sea was a living enigma, and Torah was its greatest puzzle, a creature of profound intelligence whose bond with him seemed to defy the barriers between species. Their partnership was legendary. Job and Torah moved as one, their performances a symphony of trust forged over years in the lagoon. Job spoke of Torah with reverence, calling him a companion, not a performer, his expressive eyes reflecting a depth of emotion. To the crowds, their shows were pure magic. To Job, they were proof that love could bridge the divide between man and beast. But on this fateful day, that bond would fracture in a moment of unimaginable horror, leaving a scar on Sapphire Shores and the marine park industry forever. The midday show was electric, the lagoon's tiered seats packed with spectators, fanning themselves against the summer heat. The Orca Lagoon shimmered, its turquoise depths rippling as Torah glided beneath, his silhouette a dark promise of spectacle. The crowd hummed with anticipation, their excitement cresting as Job stepped onto the platform, his athletic frame clad in a sleek wetsuit. His sun-bleached hair caught the light, and a warm smile spread across his face as he raised a hand to hush the cheers. "Ladies and gentlemen," Job called, his voice booming over the speakers, "welcome to Sapphire Shores, where the ocean's wonders come alive. Today, Torah and I invite you to witness a bond built on trust and respect." The crowd erupted, their applause mingling with the sharp slap of Torah's tail against the water, sending a spray that sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. The show began with a flourish. Torah breached, his massive body soaring skyward, before crashing back with a force that sent waves slamming against the lagoon's walls. Water drenched the front rows, who laughed and clapped, their faces alight with joy. Job signaled with precision, his movements fluid as Torah responded, spinning and diving in perfect harmony. The audience leaned forward, spellbound by the seamless dance unfolding before them. Among the spectators was Mia Alvarez, a 27-year-old marine biology graduate student researching orca behavior. Seated near the lagoon's edge with her tablet, she typed notes on Torah's movements, her keen eyes tracking every flick of his tail. Beside her was Lucas Chen, a 29-year-old freelance photographer, capturing the show's vibrancy for a local magazine. Both were drawn to Job's connection with Torah, whispering about the orca's intelligence and the trainer's evident care. The grand finale loomed, a rare in-water routine, where Job would swim with Torah, their synchronized strokes a testament to their bond. Job slipped into the water, his wetsuit shimmering as he gave Torah the cue to begin. For a moment, all was perfection. Torah swam beside him, his powerful body keeping pace, his dark eyes locked on Job with what seemed like understanding. The crowd held its breath, the sight of man and orca moving as one, a vision of harmony. Then, without warning, the rhythm broke. Torah's movements grew erratic, his massive form veering off course. Job, attuned to every shift in Torah's behavior, felt a chill of unease. His brow furrowed as he raised a hand to redirect the orca, his signal steady but firm. Torah ignored it. His body tensed, his tail slamming the water with a thunderous crack that echoed through the arena. The audience, mistaking the tension for drama, clapped louder, unaware of the danger mounting below. Job surfaced, his voice sharp as he called Torah's name, a note of urgency cutting through the water. But Torah was beyond reach. His eyes, once warm with recognition, now burned with a wild, unfocused intensity. In a heartbeat, he lunged. His jaws, lined with conical teeth, closed around Job's midsection with terrifying force, the impact driving the air from his lungs. The crowd's cheers turned to screams as Torah dragged Job beneath the surface, his massive body thrashing in a frenzy. Water churned into a violent froth, foam and spray obscuring the struggle. Job fought, his arms flailing against Torah's unyielding bulk, his legs kicking desperately for leverage. But Torah's strength was relentless, his jaws a steel trap. Blood bloomed in the water, a crimson cloud spreading through the turquoise, its tendrils curling like a grim omen. Torah shook Job with primal fury, his movements a storm of aggression, as if years of confinement had erupted in a single, devastating moment. The arena descended into chaos. Spectators leapt to their feet, some shrieking, others frozen, their minds grappling with the surreal horror. Mia Alvarez dropped her tablet, her hands trembling as she clutched Lucas's arm. Lucas fumbled with his camera, his lens capturing blurred images of the maelstrom below. Trainers on the platform shouted, their voices raw with panic as they hurled fish and floats into the lagoon, desperate to distract Torah. But the orca was consumed, his focus locked on Job, the world beyond them, a blur. For nearly 3 minutes, the attack raged. Torah dove deeper, twisting and shaking Job with brutal force, the water a maelstrom of blood and foam. Job's struggles weakened, his movements slowing as his strength ebbed. The crowd's screams grew hoarse, parents shielding their children's eyes, unable to look away from the nightmare unfolding. Finally, Torah released him. Job's broken body floated to the surface, limp and lifeless, his wetsuit shredded and stained red. Divers plunged into the lagoon, their strokes frantic as they hauled him to the platform. Medics swarmed, their hands pressing rhythmically on his chest, their faces grim with determination. But the injuries were catastrophic. Shattered ribs, a collapsed lung, internal hemorrhaging that no intervention could halt. Job's hazel eyes, once bright with passion, stared blankly at the sky, their light extinguished. At 1:32 p.m., Job Miller was pronounced dead, the arena falling silent as the weight of the tragedy settled over Sapphire Shores like a shroud. To understand this tragedy, we must trace the origins of Sapphire Shores Marine Park, a place born from a dream of wonder and stewardship. In 1983, Dr. Evelyn Harper, a marine biologist with an unyielding passion for the ocean, co-founded Sapphire Shores with her lifelong friend, Samuel Ruiz, a charismatic entrepreneur who shared her vision. Their goal was to create a haven where visitors could marvel at the sea's creatures, fostering a deep respect for its fragile ecosystems. Evelyn, with her silver-streaked hair and hands weathered by years of fieldwork, was the park's soul, her lectures on whale migrations and coral reefs enchanting guests of all ages. Samuel, with his warm smile and knack for storytelling, brought her scientific insights to life, making the park a beacon of education. In its infancy, Sapphire Shores was a modest affair. Small, glass-walled tanks housed vibrant clownfish, darting among anemones, and delicate seahorses swaying in gentle currents. A rehabilitation pool cradled injured seals and sea turtles, their recovery a testament to the park's commitment to conservation. Children squealed with delight as they dipped their hands into tide pool exhibits, feeling the tickle of hermit crabs or the soft brush of sea stars. Evelyn's guided tours were a highlight, her voice rich with knowledge as she described the intricate balance of marine life. The park was a labor of love, its mission rooted in inspiring awe rather than chasing profit. Yet the marine park industry was a fierce battleground. By the early 1990s, giants like SeaWorld cast long shadows, their high-octane shows drawing crowds. Sapphire Shores struggled to match. To keep the park afloat, Evelyn and Samuel reluctantly sought investors, their pure vision bending under the weight of financial pressures. By 1998, Sapphire Shores had morphed into a spectacle-driven destination. The intimate exhibits gave way to sprawling arenas, and the park's focus shifted from education to entertainment. The crowning addition was Torah, a male orca whose arrival in 2004 marked a turning point, a leap toward grandeur, but also a step away from the park's founding ideals. Torah's story began in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic, off Iceland's rugged coast. Born in 1989, he roamed with his pod, a tight-knit family bound by complex vocalizations that echoed across miles of open sea. At 8 years old, his freedom was stolen. Ensnared in a fisherman's net, he was ripped from his mother, her desperate calls fading as he was hauled aboard a ship. Transported across the globe, Torah was sold to Sapphire Shores, his striking markings and powerful frame making him an instant star. But the price was steep. His lagoon, though expansive by industry standards, was a mere puddle compared to the ocean he'd known, its concrete walls a cold, unyielding barrier. Early records documented Torah's distress. He emitted haunting, uncharacteristic vocalizations, mournful wails unlike the lively calls of wild orcas. He often floated motionless at the lagoon's edge, his dorsal fins sagging, a telltale sign of stress in captive males. Trainers noted sporadic aggression, moments when he'd slap the water with his tail or ignore cues entirely. Yet Sapphire Shores management, buoyed by skyrocketing ticket sales, brushed these warnings aside. Torah's performances, his soaring breaches, his synchronized swims, filled the arena, his pain drowned out by the thunder of applause. Job Miller was the embodiment of Sapphire Shores' original spirit. Born in Tidehaven, he grew up under Evelyn's care, her love for the ocean shaping his every step. As a child, he'd wander the park's winding trails, his sketchbook filled with drawings of hammerhead sharks and playful otters. The sea was his refuge, its rhythms a steady anchor in a turbulent world. When his parents perished in a boating accident at age 9, Evelyn became his guardian, her tales of deep-sea creatures soothing his grief like a lullaby. By 13, Job was a junior volunteer, lugging buckets of fish and scrubbing tanks with a grin, his curiosity boundless. He pursued a marine biology degree, his thesis on orca cognition earning accolades for its depth and empathy. Joining Sapphire Shores as a trainer, Job stood out for his compassion. He treated animals as partners, not props, his methods grounded in mutual respect. With Torah, he discovered a connection that felt almost sacred. Their first encounter was unforgettable. Job, then 23, stood at the lagoon's edge, tossing fish as Torah observed, his dark eyes wary yet curious. Over months, trust blossomed. Job learned Torah's quirks, his fondness for crunching ice blocks, his playful splashes during quiet moments. Torah responded to Job's gentle presence, their routines evolving into a dance of understanding. Job would dive with Torah, their bodies gliding in unison, the orca's soft nudges a sign of affection. To Job, Torah was more than a colleague. He was family, his spirit a reflection of the ocean's untamed heart. Audiences were captivated. Job's warm, heartfelt narration, paired with Torah's elegance, made their shows the park's crown jewel. Families returned year after year, drawn by the magic of their bond. Yet Job saw beyond the spotlight. He spent countless nights by the lagoon, speaking to Torah in hushed tones, his voice a calming presence. He believed their connection could mend the wounds of captivity, that love could heal what confinement had fractured. By 2017, Torah's behavior began to shift. Trainers reported agitation, sharp fin slaps, refusals to perform, and vocalizations that sounded like cries of anguish. He'd linger at the lagoon's edge, his body still, as if yearning for a lost world. Job, ever observant, meticulously documented these changes, his reports detailing Torah's stress after grueling show schedules. He proposed solutions, reducing performances, introducing enrichment like puzzle feeders, and granting quiet days for rest. His recommendations were steeped in science, a heartfelt plea to prioritize Torah's well-being. Management dismissed him. Sapphire Shores executives, flush with investor funds, viewed Torah as their golden ticket. "He's fine," one director scoffed, waving off Jobs' reports. "Orcas adapt. The crowds adore him." Jobs' detailed logs were buried in filing cabinets, his warnings smothered by the pursuit of profit. The park's schedule grew relentless, with Torah performing up to 6 shows daily, his lagoon a stage for ceaseless spectacle. Job grappled with his role. He cherished Torah, but the park's trajectory gnawed at his conscience. Evelyn, now retired, urged him to fight harder, her own regrets over Sapphire Shore's transformation fueling her counsel. Yet Job remained, convinced he could shield Torah, that their bond could endure the storm. He redoubled his efforts, sneaking extra enrichment into Torah's routine, floating toys, complex feeding puzzles, his heart heavy with unspoken dread. The tragedy of July 15th, 2019, shattered Sapphire Shores and sent shockwaves through Tidehaven. As Job's body was carried from the lagoon, the arena emptied in a daze, spectators stumbling out, their faces etched with horror. Children wept, their starfish balloons bobbing forlornly, while parents whispered in disbelief, struggling to process the nightmare they'd witnessed. The park's upbeat music fell silent, replaced by the piercing wail of sirens as ambulances and police flooded the lot. Tidehaven, a coastal town whose identity was tied to Sapphire Shores, plunged into mourning, its streets cloaked in an eerie hush. Animal rights activists descended within hours, their protests a thunderous condemnation of orca captivity. Outside the park's gates, demonstrators waved signs reading, "Free Torah" and "End Sapphire Shores." Their chants echoed through Tidehaven, drawing locals who joined in, their anger fueled by grief. National news outlets aired grainy cell phone footage of the attack, the images searing themselves into the public's psyche. Social media erupted, with hashtags like #JusticeForJob and #Boycott Sapphire trending worldwide, turning the tragedy into a global rallying cry. Evelyn Harper, devastated by the loss of her nephew, spearheaded the family's response. She filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Sapphire Shores, demanding accountability. The case unearthed a trove of damning evidence. Jobs ignored reports, internal emails prioritizing revenue over animal welfare, and a chilling memo from an executive. "Torah's our cash cow, no downtime." The lawsuit exposed a culture of negligence, with former trainers testifying about Torah's untreated stress and the park's relentless performance demands. The settlement reached tens of millions, but no amount could fill the void left by Job's death. Evelyn, once the park's dreamer, emerged as its fiercest critic, her voice cracking with resolve as she addressed crowds at anti-captivity rallies. The park's downfall was swift, attendance cratered, with families shunning a place now synonymous with tragedy. Sponsors pulled funding, their logos vanishing from advertisements. By early 2024, Sapphire Shores closed its gates for good. The lagoon's tanks were drained, their concrete walls left to crumble. The vibrant exhibits, once home to darting tropical fish and playful otters, were dismantled, leaving the site a ghostly shell. The park, once Tidehaven's pride, became a somber relic, its chained gates a symbol of a dream gone wrong. Torah's fate offered a faint beacon of hope. After years of relentless advocacy, he was relocated in late 2024 to a sea sanctuary off Norway's coast, a vast natural enclosure designed for rehabilitated orcas. The move was monumental, involving marine biologists, veterinarians, and global funding from conservation groups. Drone footage captured Torah's arrival, his massive body leaping against a stormy sky, his vocalizations ringing with a vitality absent in captivity. In the sanctuary, he swam freely, chasing fish and diving into currents, his dorsal fin rising prouder with each day. Yet his freedom was tinged with sorrow. Job's life was the cost, a burden that weighed on all who'd fought for Torah's release. The sanctuary wasn't without challenges. Torah's integration required careful monitoring to ensure his health and ability to a semi-wild environment. Experts noted he initially swam in tight circles, a vestige of his years in a tank, but gradually explored wider expanses. His vocalizations began to resemble those of wild orcas, suggesting a yearning to reconnect with his kind. Though too old to join a wild pod, Torah formed bonds with other sanctuary orcas, their calls weaving a new social network. Conservationists hailed his progress as a triumph, but the shadow Jobs' death lingered, a reminder the toll captivity. Jobs' death was not an isolated incident. Across the marine park industry, orca incidents, fatalities, near misses, had long punctuated the decades, each underscoring the profound toll captivity. Research revealed captive orcas endured chronic stress, shortened lifespans, and psychological deterioration, their complex minds unraveling in barren tanks. Public sentiment shifted dramatically, fueled by Jobs' tragedy and amplified by hard-hitting documentaries exposing the grim reality behind the glamour. By 2025, major parks had phased out orca shows entirely, repurposing arenas for educational exhibits or closing them outright. Tidehaven embarked on a slow, deliberate path to healing. In 2025, a marine conservation center rose on Sapphire Shore's former site, its mission rooted in Jobs' vision of ocean stewardship. The center featured interactive displays on marine ecosystems, virtual reality dives into coral reefs, and programs for rehabilitating injured sea creatures. Evelyn, now in her late 80s, volunteered there, her weathered hands guiding children to touch sea stars as she shared stories of the ocean's wonders and its lessons. Her talks often ended with a quiet tribute to Job, her voice soft but firm, urging the next generation to protect the wild. Torah's legacy became a global catalyst. His story inspired campaigns to protect wild orca populations, from banning commercial captures to establishing marine protected areas. Advocacy groups launched educational initiatives, using Torah's journey to teach millions about the ethical costs of captivity. In Tidehaven, murals of Torah leaping in his sanctuary adorned waterfronts, a symbol of redemption and resolve. Job Miller's memory lived on in countless ways. Friends recalled his infectious laugh, his late-night vigils by the lagoon, his unwavering belief in Torah's soul. For those who'd watched him swim with the orca, the memory was bittersweet, a fleeting glimpse of harmony, forever shadowed by the day the ocean roared back. In Tidehaven, a scholarship in Jobs' name funded marine biology students, many of whom cited his empathy as their inspiration. Mia Alvarez, who'd witnessed the tragedy, dedicated her doctoral research to orca welfare, her work shaped by Jobs' example. Lucas Chen's photographs from that day, once too painful to publish, became part of a traveling exhibit on the ethics of marine parks, stirring hearts worldwide. Evelyn carried Jobs' spirit forward. Despite her age, she remained a tireless advocate, speaking at international conferences on marine conservation. Her home was filled with Jobs' sketches, sharks, otters, Torah, each a reminder of his love for the sea. She often visited the conservation center at dusk, standing by the tide pools where Job once played, feeling his presence in the rhythm of the waves. Sapphire Shore's fall marked a turning point, a moment when the world began to reckon with the cost of bending nature to human whims. Job's life and his tragic end became a call to reimagine humanity's relationship with the ocean, not as a stage for spectacle, but as a vast, living world demanding respect. As Torah swam free in his distant sanctuary, his leaps a testament to a hard-won liberty, Job's dream endured, a vision of harmony between man and sea, forever tempered by the lessons of a day that changed everything. If this story grips you, subscribe, like, and share this video with friends. We bring you true wildlife stories that demand to be remembered, understood, and learned from. Respect the wild, and we'll see you in the next video.